Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 304 of the Canadian Football Countdown, a proud member of the Canadian Football Podcast Network and the Alternative Football Network. Ryan and Trey back again, the third straight week of just the two of us here to preview week 16 of the 2025 CFL season. We've got your fantasy fix. We've got your betting picks for each of the four games on the schedule this week. Trey, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. I beat both kids in crib tonight. That's always fun when you can assert your fatherly dominance over your children. But yeah, Jay's lost. Bombers are looking helpless. But otherwise, it's 50-50, man. It's 50-50. How about you, man? How are you doing?
I mean, it's around the time of year our Winnipeg sports team starts looking helpless, so it tracks. Well, I guess the Jets are actually good for the first 2 months of the season normally and then fall off down the stretch. But I'm doing good as well. Spent the day at the zoo today. That was a good time. Good chance to see the animals out there. Polar bears are doing their thing out at the zoo. And excited to chat some football here tonight. Tough week of CFL fantasy coming up. Lots of injury situations. Tough week of CFL betting as well. So we'll get into all of that here right away. We will also take your comments and questions live in the YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch chats. Thanks to presenting sponsor Game Time TV. Learn more at GameTimeTV.ca or Facebook.com/GameTimeTVMB. As always, we do want to acknowledge that the Canadian Football Countdown is brought to you from Treaty 1 territory, traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Ojibwe, Dakota, and Dene peoples, the homeland of the Métis Nation, as well as from Treaty 4 territory, traditional territory of the Cree, Dakota, Lakota, Nakota, and Métis Nation. Check out our Discord community as well if you want additional content or discussion in between episodes. Link is in the episode description. It's free to join us over there. Lots of CFL fantasy, CFL betting chatter going on, NFL talk, lots of it as well. I know folks have been enjoying the start to the NFL season so far. Crazy start to the year in the NFL as well. And lots of discussion going on over there. Links in the episode description. It's free to join. All right, let's get into this week's CFL fantasy content. We'll start with fantasy. We'll get into betting, and we're going to do the same thing we did the last couple of weeks. We're going to draft our unique competing game zone lineups. But first, let's dive into the news and notes that may impact your lineup decisions here tonight. Trey and mine and everybody who's setting their lineups for the week. There's a lot of it, so bear with me as we go through, and I'll stop down here and there and get Trey's takes on some of these things as well. Let's start first game of the week, Montreal and Toronto. McLeod Bethel-Thompson starts again for the Alouettes. Davis Alexander has been practicing, but is still not quite ready to come off the IR. So MBT, coming off his best game of the season, gets another start here. And at running back, Travis Tice. I'm a big fan of his. Took him in last week's draft with the first overall pick, and he lasted all but one play into the game before going out with an injury. Jason Maas saying he will be out for a little bit. So Stevie Scott III, who's $3,000 in Game Zone, gets to start this week. And this may be the first time we have a bell cow, so to say, running back in Montreal, not a running back by committee, because STE is out, Tice is out. But they also did recently sign Eno Benjamin from the Calgary Stampeders practice roster. So maybe he comes in as a backup and gets a couple of reps. Still a decent spot there at $3,000. And interestingly, Cole Speaker, a healthy scratch last week for the Montreal Alouettes. Kind of wonder if it's ratio related, as that was the first game Sean Thomas Erlington was out of the lineup. Maybe they needed to start. I believe Regis Sabasu got the start at wide receiver in his place. And yeah, surprised he wasn't even a backup on the roster. So continue to monitor that when the depth chart comes out, because I think it just says load management on the injury report. On the other side of the matchup, the biggest injury news of the week, Nick Arbuckle is out for 2 to 4 weeks with a calf strain. Trey, we were debated over the last couple of weeks. Will it be Arbuckle? Will it be Chad Kelly down the stretch, and arguably the most important game of the year for the Toronto Argonauts? Surprise, it's actually Jarrett Daggy getting the start this week. How are you feeling about the Argos offense fantasy wise as a whole outlook with the switch here from Arbuckle to Daggy?
I mean, I don't know. They got to throw it to somebody. So, you know what I mean? But we'll see how that goes. Yeah, really unfortunate for a lot of fantasy things here. But I don't know. Argos are a very interesting spot. Like I think there's some big questions around Kelly. He's been talking as if he should have started weeks ago. So is it
Right.
not health related why he's not playing? Is it is it something else? Is it whatever? Arbuckle coming down right now when he's been playing lights out is real tough, especially in this East Division where all the teams are 2 games apart, kind of thing, 2, 3
Yeah.
games apart. So you're right. This is a big game right now, especially with Winnipeg, BC, and Edmonton all licking their lips for that potential fourth place or the third place in the East. Right, this is the game. Right, if you're battling out the West right now for the crossover spot, big game right now. And I don't know for both sides. You know what I mean? We're going to talk about the line in a little bit. 7 is a big number for Montreal, who has a lot of question marks as well. So it's
Right.
fantasy is just in week 16 of the CFL, man, is just something else.
And this is where it gets to crunch time in fantasy, right? A lot of fantasy leagues. I know our leagues are in the final 2-3 weeks of the regular season before we hit playoff mode here. And the Argos have been a team that has just been such a pillar of consistency. Like Arbuckle's been a near must start every week. Jake Herslow has lately been a must start every week. Some of those other receivers like Brissett and Maitel and those guys have been solid fantasy producers. Coaxey when he's healthy. Spencer Brown has been a kind of shining light over the last couple of weeks at running back. I kind of think this elevates him a little bit because I think more than, Arbuckle throwing 35, 40 times a game, maybe they actually, hand the ball off more and they've started to commit more to him. And I wonder if they continue to do so. I feel like often when you see a backup quarterback and unknown come in, there's a lot of dump passes to the running back. So I like that for Spencer Brown there as well. Really don't know what to make of Jarrett Daggy. I think he didn't look great in his previous start/half games he played in Edmonton. I think he had maybe, 3 touchdown passes in 4.5 games or something like that. Didn't look spectacular there. The one shining light, and he's I think like $5,000 in fantasy this week, Daggy is. The Argos brought him in training camp to the point that they let Cameron Dukes go after bringing Daggy in with like 2 days left in camp and really liked what they saw from him. And he was the third string on the depth chart this last week. And they put him in down the stretch over Tucker Horn. So clearly they like what they see from Daggy. So, $5,000 might work out for you fantasy-wise. Going to the BC Calgary matchup, James Butler and Javon Catoy, according to Farhan Lalji, are doubtful to play. They have not practiced all week. If Butler's not ready to go, it sounds like Xander Horvath at $2,500 would get the start at running back, most likely for them. Kieran Poissant at $2,700 might get the start at national wide receiver. You'd have to check the depth chart, of course, on that one as well. I'm interested to see how the absence of James Butler impacts BC's offense here too, because will they throw the ball more, but also will they score as often? Because I think they rely a lot on Butler to pick up those 8-9 yards to help them move down the field regularly. And if you're not getting that potentially, I don't know what we'll see from Horvath yet, but tough matchup against the Stamps this week too. So that could be a major impact on BC's ability to find the end zone this week. On the Calgary side of things, Jalen Philpott's questionable. If he is out, I would think Damian Alford gets back into a starting role somewhere. Seems like he only plays wide out, so either him or Clark Barnes will have to move into the slot position, I would assume, if that occurs. And on the defensive side of the ball, Jalen Hutchings, most outstanding defensive player candidate, likely out of the West, one of the strong contenders for it, missed last game, and Justin Rankin ran for over 200 yards against them. He's back this week, so I kind of wonder how much of that was a contributor into it. But Flair Olamide is out, so that's a big loss on the defensive line there for the Calgary side. Now let's talk about Winnipeg, Ottawa, and get your thoughts here, Trey. The quarterback situation for both of these teams. Zach Collaros has not practiced this week. He seems to keep wearing the jersey to try to show the team that they should put him in. But Chris Streveler to most likely start again at quarterback for the Bombers. Jareth Stearns is back practicing, but still limited. And on the Ottawa side, Drew Brown has been a full participant in practice this week. William Stanback has not practiced, and Devontae Dedmon has been a full participant and may return in the kick return role after missing a number of weeks. Let's start on the Winnipeg side. We saw Chris Streveler last week. It didn't look pretty, but he put up over 20 points and still finished as the QB4 on the week. How are you feeling about running it back with Chris Streveler again?
I don't know, man. But I also can cuss Zach Collaros doesn't sound much better either, right? So I don't know about this one, man. It's not looking good in dynasty land of Winnipeg right now with these quarterbacks for sure. Like, I can't remember who, but I mean, it's been a topic of conversation. The fact that Chris Streveler has more NFL experience than Nathan Rourke is going to probably be the biggest troll of life when it comes to this. But I don't know. This one's going to be interesting. Obviously, there's something going on to some degree with why they wouldn't give Wilson a shot. Is it locker room stuff? Is it, just, kind of thing? Or like you paid Streveler to come in this year, you got to give him the reins. I don't know what's going on, but I said the same thing when I saw Collaros was wearing the jersey. He thinks he's starting, kind of thing. Because if he was out, I don't think he'd be wearing a jersey on the sideline. So he thinks he can play. Probably might just be. And to be honest, it wouldn't be the craziest thing for him not to practice and play. He's a veteran, right? He probably, he knows the playbook in and out. All these guys have been practicing all year with them. So I think it might be a little bit of keeping the cards close to the vest when it comes to O'Shea. We know he likes to do that.
True, yeah.
But honestly, man, and with these injuries, I've been joking, like, who's going to be our Collaros this year we trade in? Well, Arbuckle's out. Kelly's not playing. The 4 quarterbacks in Montreal are hurt. You're not getting Trey Ford or Fajardo in Edmonton. So you're running out of these lists. There are not really any spare quarterbacks right now.
Right.
So I guess you got to go with who you think is the most prepared quarterback in the room that's healthy, and I guess that's Streveler.
I guess, yeah.
I guess it's Streveler. Like I was saying, like Wilson hasn't really shown anything either, other than he's broken a few quarterback sneaks, and he's probably not the guy that. There's probably some reason that he's not the guy they want to give him the chance, but maybe not until they're completely out of the playoff chance, which in a 9-team league is not going to happen right away. So I don't know, man. I don't know what they're doing in Winnipeg, man. They give players. That's the one red flag of Osh is I think he gives too much benefit to his players, to his guys. And Streveler, one of his guys, right? So,
for sure, yeah.
Wilson, third-string quarterback, you're probably not one of the boys when it comes to that, right? And that's what I'm saying. Zach Collaros, if he gets the doctor's note saying he can play, he's one of the guys, and probably Osh will say, you're starting, right? Right? So.
And Streveler to me is that guy who's not great in terms of actual football productivity, but great for fantasy productivity. Like last week, the garbage time, he racked up the points in that one. And really, like, if he's going to run 50 yards, if he's going to run for a touchdown, he seems to every game, despite his struggles, put together 1 or 2 solid drives. And if he can put those into the end zone, either through the air or with his legs, he's going to produce, and rightfully so at his price. You'll be happy with the point total you get out of him. The thing he has to overcome is the interceptions, which my favorite stat of the week was that Zach Collaros and Chris Streveler are the top 2 in the CFL in interceptions on the season. How does that even happen? I don't know, man. On the Ottawa side, Drew Brown back as a full participant this week. Not going to lie, made me a little bit sad to see that, because Dustin Crum has been the fantasy gold mine. He has started 5 games this year, and he is QB5 in fantasy on the season. That's higher than a bunch of starters who have played more games than him. And he is 2 points behind Justin Hardy for the most points among all Ottawa Red Blacks on the year. That's how good Dustin Crum has been. I personally think, and we'll get into this a little bit more with betting, I'll talk about it more in depth then later on, but I think Dustin Crum is the better start this week for the Red Blacks for this matchup against Winnipeg. But if Drew Brown comes back in, that's a big impact on fantasy as well. Crum takes away, I want to say, like anywhere between 7 to 10 passing plays a game, really, because he's going to run those off with his legs. Those are now going to be passes that are going to go to wide receivers. Drew Brown has shown the ability to feed, if he stays healthy, all three of his top receivers in there. And then William Stanback also being out, potentially out this week. He hasn't practiced yet. That elevates Daniel Adeboboye, who looked kind of good in the opportunities he got last week, and I think can be a starting running back in the CFL. Finally, on the Edmonton-Hamilton side or matchup, nothing on offense really to note on here, but Nick Anderson, Royce Metier, Jared Brinkman all didn't practice on defense. I don't expect that to hinder Edmonton that much because their defense seems to be somehow getting better late in the season, despite all of the injuries. Seems like the guys they have are really gelling there. On the Hamilton side, they're getting their kick returner back most likely this week. Isaiah Wooden Sr., a full participant on Wednesday. And something I was really happy to see, Devin Verisek, candidate for most outstanding rookie, linebacker for the Ticats, took an awful hit against the Bombers last week, got stretchered off the field, and he's been a full participant this week in practice as well. So happy to see no long-term injury for him there. That is your CFL fantasy injury news and notes for the week. Let's get into our Game Zone fantasy lineup draft here, like we did last week. First, let's take a look back at how last week went for both of us. Trey won again. Trey, you're 2-0 since we started this new format. Congrats to you, sir. You finished the week with 117.6 points. I had 96.3. Dustin Crum led the way again with his 67.6 as your captain, whereas Nick Arbuckle, 4 interceptions and then goes out with injury. Only got me 22 as captain. You had a bunch of Red Blacks that didn't do a whole ton, but Dustin Crum and AJ Olette and Kenny Lawler ended up delivering. So 2-0 for you. How you feeling about how your lineup did, Trey?
Oh, man, I'm just ecstatic. Betting expert and fantasy expert at this point, so I'll take it.
Oh, we have people in the Discord trying to, bargain for the expert titles for different things now. So.
Hey, he's going to be my inside source, man. There was no rules against that.
Perfect. I love it. All right, let's get into our Week 16 lineup draft. Once again, I lost last week, so I will get the first overall pick. We're drafting from the CFL Game Zone fantasy lineups. We must stick within the $70,000 budget. We must pick a captain. And we got to get a QB, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a flex, and a defense. We'll do snake draft order, starting with me. And this is a tough week. I had a tough time putting a lineup together again because of all that injury news we just talked about. And we're recording this Wednesday night. We don't know for sure any of the depth charts yet at this point. I would love to have the first overall pick and say Dustin Crum because I think, the last 2 weeks have shown why. And I think can't really go that direction. Quarterback's a little bit muddy for me. I want to see what you do with your back-to-back picks. But the one pick that interests me the most is Justin Rankin at running back for the Edmonton Elks at $14,000. He's one of the most explosive running backs in the CFL. He just 2 weeks ago rattled off 200 yards against the really strong Calgary defense. Bit of a disappointment last week outside of the touchdown he got. He didn't get a lot of work on the ground. He only got 2 passes. But I will forever pick the running back playing against the Hamilton Tiger Cats, who have on the season averaged 21.9 points against to running backs. I think Rankin is a focal point of that offense, and if they're going to score against Hamilton, it's going to go through his hands once again. So give me Justin Rankin at $14,000 to kick off this week's draft. Over to you, Trey.
Like it, man. Like it. That's definitely a good pick there. You know what, man? I'm going to go for a little value play to kick things off. I'm going to go with that Scott the Third with 3,000 in Montreal. Since Cease is out. I probably would have taken Cease there, but he's likely out, right? So
he is. He's confirmed out, yeah.
Okay, just, Game Zone's not updated. It has him healthy. So go with that.
Never believe.
Yeah. Then my next pick, this is where I'm going to get some savings in. just looked at the schedule. BC Calgary. This would be Vernon Adams Jr.'s first time playing BC. Give me VA in a revenge game against the BC Lions. Been a little bit quieter this last few weeks. He's averaging, or the projected 15.4. But just, I think BC made the biggest screw up in recent franchise history in the CFL by not allowing VA to continue out the season last year. I get why they did it, but I think in hindsight it was a big mistake. And I think they could have been a lot closer to hosting a banner this year if they let VA run. And Calgary might have that banner this November because of it. And I think this is the beginning of the revenge. They play next 2 times in the next few weeks. So
I like that angle of it as well. I'm very much in the stats heavy side of things, and I like those extra storylines because they absolutely play into fantasy. Like VA is a guy I write off as not a consideration for me in fantasy at this point because he's finished as QB 5, 6, or 7 in 5 straight weeks. And he doesn't pass a ton. He's completed under 20 passes in every game but one this season, which is a little bit surprising. That being said, he's coming off the bye this week. He's coming against the BC defense, who we saw what Dustin Crum did on them 2 weeks in a row. We saw what Arbuckle and the Argos did on them the week before. That defense has given up quite a bit points-wise. And again, the revenge game in there. So I don't mind the attempt on VA this week because it's a very muddy QB situation for me everywhere else. So Stevie Scott III, Vernon Adams Jr. to your lineup here, which means back to me for back-to-back picks for mine. Trying to figure out how I want to stack my lineup here. Stevie Scott III was going to be a solid play for me in there for my lineup, for my depth. He's probably my favorite cheap play as well. So got to rework some things here. Other cheap plays I could go to for running back. I could go to Daniel Adebaboye, 5,300 potentially. Xander Horvath, 2,500. But I'm going to go to wide receiver here a little bit and take my first one off the board. I'm going to go high rolling here once again. It didn't work out when I put him in my lineup 2 weeks ago in this draft. But then, of course, last week he goes off when I didn't pick him. I'm going with Keon Hatcher of the BC Lions. He is consistently finds himself in the top 10 amongst wide receivers. He gets the workload unlike any others in the CFL. I believe he leads the league in targets. Only 5 last week, but he caught the touchdown. He's at 20-plus points in 3 of his last 4 games. I like the Keon Hatcher play, especially with Butler potentially out of the lineup. I think they will lean on the pass a little bit more, and I think yes, it's a tough matchup against Calgary, but I think there's room for that there. For my next play, I'm going to go over to another wide receiver position, take my first 2 off the board here. And I'm going to go for another depth. I'm going to go for a depth play here that I hemmed and hawed on the last couple of weeks, and he seems to consistently start putting up decent numbers. And that's OJ Hillier of the Edmonton Elks, who 2 weeks ago put up 9.1. Last week put up 10.9. He's $5,500. There aren't a lot of good value plays available at the wide receiver position this week. You've got Saskatchewan on the bye, so you don't have Tommy Neild available to you. You have ambiguous situations with some of these other teams in Toronto, Montreal with their quarterback situation. So I'll take Hillier here to save a little bit of money at wide receiver and then see what you do.
You know what? Let's keep it rolling with the cheap running backs. If you're confident that Horvath will start, let's throw him in that lineup to take the 2,500. Save some money here, and then they still got just under 50,000 for pretty much 3 receivers in a defense. So then my first receiver, oh man, Hatcher's a great play. He's been really helping me in our fantasy league lately. This is interesting. You know what? Let's see. You know what? I'm gonna go to one of Adam's favorite players. Don't call him Jake, Justin Hardy. I think that Blue Bomber defense is gonna have some big holes in it. like we've seen. And regardless if it's Crum or Brown playing quarterback, they're going to have to throw it to somebody. So let's go with that.
I like that pick. I really like it. Justin Hardy is, I think, one of the top 10 overall fantasy scorers on the season. And, with Dustin Crum until 2 weeks ago, I would have said if he's in the lineup, I don't go that route, but he's thrown over 300 his past 2 games. Justin Hardy is, I think, Drew Brown's favorite target as well. And they're going to be a more pass-heavy team if Drew Brown is in the lineup, and that's going to elevate his target share and things like that as well. So I like it. I think that's a good pick there for you. Looking at my lineup now, you took both the cheap running backs off the board, which really puts me into a sticky situation because I almost need one of those after picking Hatcher and Rankin and the big bucks there. Means I probably can't go with the high-priced quarterback that I want necessarily. So I will go with a different route at quarterback this week then. I want Nathan Rourke in my lineup. I know we had some discussion in the Discord this week about Rourke, probably being the safest play. I'm not sure it is. Calgary's coming off the bye. They're getting Jalen Hutchings back on the defensive line. Tough game for BC against Calgary here. No James Butler. Like I said before, how does that impact things for the offense? Do I want to go too BC heavy here? I think this could be a letdown week for Rourke. That being said, he's been the one who's overcome the tough matchups the most in the CFL. So I think there is potential there. The more I talk about it, I might be talking myself back into him. So we might be coming back to him in a second if I can make it work with the rest of the lineup. I'm going to take my defense actually off the board first and see what kind of cash I've got left. And I don't have a ton of cash spent or left to spend. So I don't like the play a whole ton, but I'm going with the Ottawa Red Blacks at 3,100 because they're likely playing Chris Streveler, whether it's Chris Streveler or whether it's Zach Collaros. That's not where I put it on the chart. They're going to throw interceptions, and the Red Blacks defense can force some turnovers. They don't get a ton of sacks. They give up a lot of points. That's why they are so low on the list. But I think that will help me with a little bit of cash flexibility here. And just taking a look at what else I have available for my lineup. Okay, I'm feeling good about this. And then I'll go and round out my running back room, and I would love to take Greg Bell. I can't afford Greg Bell. It's not going to happen. But I'm going to take Spencer Brown because if Jarrett Daggy is in at quarterback, I think they do lean on Spencer Brown at the running back position a little bit more. And he's been on fire lately, and I think he's going to be the biggest benefactor of this switch at quarterback for the Toronto Argonauts. $8,500. That's about a $5,000-$6,000 discount over some of the top running back options. And I think Brown has the capability to produce almost as much as any of them do on any given week. So I know I started this off by talking about Rourke in the quarterback position. I might go back to him in a minute to round that out. But I think getting Ottawa's defense, and by your reaction, I have a feeling they were next off your board, and getting Spencer Brown really give me the flexibility to stack the rest of my lineup.
Yeah, you kind of screwed up my plan because I was thinking, regardless of which quarterback plays, it's like 1 and 2 interceptions for Winnipeg, right? Or in the league. So yeah, I wasn't going that way. Slight change then. A couple extra thousand will have to go on the board. Give me the Alouettes going up against a very unknown quarterback there. And really doesn't change much because I still have $31,000 left for 2 receivers, and that's pretty much can fit 2 guys in there with that. You know what, though? While I say that, while he's there, give me Herslow, 11,000. Again, 2 quarterbacks got to throw it somewhere. He'll probably still get out 200, 300 passing yards. Might go to a guy. He just might throw a couple picks. That's all.
I like it. I like the pick there. Herslow, yeah. Last week in the first half, Herslow had 0 catches on 0 targets and had starting to think, I knew it was a bad matchup against the Elks, but how do you not go Herslow's direction after the touchdown machine he's been? And then he rattled off like a massive day and 24 points in the second half. And he's been arguably the hottest receiver in the CFL. And does that continue with Daggy? Does it not? I don't know. But how do you not bank on them leaning on him near the end zone if they've done it 8 times in the last 5 games? I think you have to.
I think so.
I guess it's back to me here now with my 2 picks to round this out. And I'm looking through the options. I actually do have a little bit of flexibility now after the other plays I made here. And I want to make sure that I have the space to do this. I'm gonna go with Chris Streveler at quarterback this week. I'm gonna take Streveler at $7,000 because I think Coach O'Shea has that faith in him where even if he struggles, he's not getting pulled. So I'm not too concerned about that. And I think he can make some plays happen. Tough matchup with the Ottawa defense. I really actually kind of like stacking them with the Ottawa defense because if he really struggles, then my defense is scoring big points. If he throws those pick sixes, great. Then that helps elevate my defense. But he's got that rushing ability. I think he can still get the 20-point week based on using his legs and a couple of good drives there against an Ottawa team that has given up a lot of points lately. So I love Nathan Rourke. I do. I would love to fit him in my lineup. I probably will put him in my actual lineup. But Trey took the 2 cheapest plays off the board in Stevie Scott III and Xander Horvath that I would be interested in here. So I am going to go with Streveler at $7,000, which leaves me $16,900 for my flex play, which means I can put anybody I want in here, which is a little bit scary. There's a lot of different plays out there. I'm going to go with Tyson Philpott at $13,600. He had the highest score of the season last week with 45.3 points against the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And he came off the injury, slow start in week 14, strong week last week for him. He's had some pretty good weeks this season. Maybe he's established that connection with McLeod Bethel-Thompson, who will be starting again this week. We know MBT can throw the ball a whole ton. And in a good matchup against the Argos, who have given up over 30 points and somehow won in 3 straight weeks. I think there's points on the board, and I think at least 1 touchdown is going Philpott's direction. That's my lineup. I've got $3,300 left on the board at the end of it. You've still got, I forgot to put Montreal's defense price in there for you. That's what, $5,600? So you got $20,000 to work with for your final pick. So you also have your pick of anybody off the board.
Oh, man, I'm going to go. Okay, first of all, talk about Streveler. That's probably where I'm going to go in my actual lineup, actually, to save some money and to get a couple other guys, maybe some better potential running back plays in there. But so I like that. But for this last and final one, going on a hunch, this guy seemed to have good chemistry with the quarterback early in the season. Give me Wheatfall. Just him and Streveler have had some good connections early. Man, if there was a bonus for having extra money, I have like 11,800 left. So pretty wild. Kind of regretting some of my running back decisions now with all this money left. But I was thinking of him and Han between Lawler, Wilson, Polk, like where which one of those big time receivers. But Wheatfall just he's been kind of quieter lately, but just him and Streveler had some good connections early in the season, and I think maybe they could get back to that.
I mean, if a defense decides to not or put too many men on the field, but also not be ready for the snap so that Wheatfall is wide open again like he was last week against the Ticats, then that'll be a pretty good day for you. Lots of money left on the board for you and the cheap plays there. Decent amount of money left on the board for me. Anybody you didn't talk about in your lineups here or first of all, who's your captain pick this week?
I guess go VA.
VA is captain?
Yeah.
All right. And for me, normally it's a given that I'm taking the quarterback as the captain, but not this week. Not with, I'm a little iffy on Strebler. I think he can get to 20 points maybe, but Justin Rankin in this matchup against Hamilton, I have to go that direction. I think he's got, 150 plus yards in him, and I think he a touchdown in him this week as well. So give me Justin Rankin. Any quick honorable mentions for you that you would have liked in your lineup?
I want to say that this is the time of the year. If Winnipeg is going to bounce back, they're going to have to go to Oliveira, right? Like with Strebler in and everything, and Caleros undetermined, and their defense is like but again, like, are we going to get the 6-touch Oliveira, or are we going to get 30-touch Oliveira? If we get 30-touch Oliveira, that's where I'd want to go on a big game Saturday afternoon against Ottawa. If this was a home game against Ottawa, I'd probably be more tempted to take Oliveira, because he'll just do that slow-moving game where, it's another Winnipeg first down for like 3 hours, right? And just giving it to Oliveira. In Ottawa, enemy territory. It's not a cold Saturday night game. It's, 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. local time there, sunnier. Watch Strebler try to air it out and, kind of thing. But that was one way I wanted to go. Calgary's receivers, like with Philpott or Alfred or whatever, but again, injuries kind of clouded that. Do I take Alfred but then watch Philpott play? Do I take Philpott, watch him out? Things like that. You?
Greg Bell would have been the honorable mention. He's had 20 plus carries in 2 straight weeks and 30 plus points in 2 straight weeks. So if I could have gone that direction, I think Edmonton's run defense is actually pretty good. So I kind of playing the matchup with Philpott against the Argos over Bell against Edmonton's defense. But I mean, some of those injuries on the Elks defensive line, like I'm going back and forth. And if I can fit both Rankin and Bell in my lineup and Spencer Brown somehow, then I'm probably trying to find a way to do that. It would mean taking Strebler, taking the Ottawa defense, probably downgrading Hatcher to somebody weaker at receiver. But Greg Bell would be my one big honorable mention. I'm just always skeptical of, are they going to continue giving him the ball to the same degree that they have been so far the last 2 weeks, because it has been a little bit out of the norm. And I think something reasonable to keep in mind too, fantasy-wise, in that Edmonton-Hamilton matchup, if Rankin's going to run a ton in this glorious matchup against the Ticats, and if Greg Bell's going to get 20-plus carries, that game's going to go fast. There's not going to be a ton of offensive plays because the clock is going to keep running for the most part on those, right? So I think that impacts the receivers, and I think that's reflected maybe in the fact that we haven't taken any receivers from that game, despite some obvious good ones on primarily the Hamilton side, but a couple on Edmonton side as well. Chris Strebler, Justin Rankin as captain, Spencer Brown, Keon Hatcher, OJ Hillier, Tyson Philpott, and Ottawa's defense make up my lineup. So I guess we have one Edmonton receiver in Hillier. Vernon Adams Jr. is captain, Stevie Scott III, Xander Horvath, Justin Hardy, Jake Herslow, Carrick Wheatfall, and the Montreal defense make up Trey's roster. We'll put it out there on the socials and the Discord again this week. Let you vote on whose lineup you think, who picked the better lineup. Historical trends say everybody will vote for me, and then Trey will beat me handily, because that's what's happened 2 weeks in a row. But that's our fantasy preview for this week. So good luck with your fantasy lineups. And now we get into the betting portion of the show. We've got our picks against the spread. We've got our over-under picks for the 4 games this week. But first off, how did we do last week, Trey?
Oh, let me pull that up. So last week, with against the spread, Adam had a good week. He went 3-1, while you and I went 1-3. The over/under was where I took off and went 3-1. You were 500 there at 2-2. Adam 1-3, and the coin took a week off. The coin was on vacation. I think it went to somewhere. I don't know. Touring Europe, backpacking across Europe for the week. So season totals against the spread. Adam caught me a little bit. I'm at 33-25. He's at 32-26. You're at 24-30. You got to get to that 500, man. We got a few more weeks left to get you there. The coin's still at 30-24. Over under, though, you are the king of that, but just over 500 at 29-28-1. I'm one behind at 28-29-1, and Adam's kind of falling behind there, 26-31-1. I didn't do winning percentage this week, but overall, me and Adam are kind of at 50%. You're at 47 roughly. So close. You're not losing tons of money. It's you're giving a nice little
That's my motto. Don't lose tons of money. So
yeah, and this is an interesting week. Some big spreads in, I don't know, 2 or 3 of the 4 games. So things will be interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was on a heater with the over-unders, 7-2, I think, since Labor Day, halfway through this week, and then I got the last 2 games wrong, so I fell to 2-2 on the week. But still 7-4. We'll see if we can keep that going. Let's start first game of the week, Montreal, Toronto. Huge matchup like we've talked about already in the East Division. Montreal 6-7, Toronto 5-8, just 2 points back for second spot in the West right now. McLeod Bethel Thompson starts for Montreal. Jarrett Daggy for Toronto. That puts the Argos at 7-point underdogs at home and an over-under of 50.5 on the week. Where are you thinking for this game?
Oh, man, this one's tough. Because, if this was Nick Arbuckle, you would have to think that Toronto would almost be favored or closer, 2 points maybe. I don't know. So it's very weird. So, but 7's tough. I'm going to go with Toronto. Toronto at home, division matchup. I know it's a newer quarterback. They have a pretty solid running back that's been doing good. They have an elite receiving core. I'm not sold on MBT. Is that much of an improvement over who's Toronto's quarterback's name again?
Jarrett Daggy.
Daggy. I don't think MBT is that much of an all-star compared to him. So I can't see this one being that crazy. And I'm going to go under. I could see this being a 2017 snooze fest Friday night.
I'm agreeing with you going Toronto in the under. I had Montreal typed into the doc originally, but as we were talking about it, before we knew Arbuckle was going to be out for a number of weeks, after this week, somebody was asking for my power rankings in the Discord, and I put Toronto at number 1, and I said Toronto's actually my current favorite to win the Cup because they've had 3 straight games of just absolute magic late in the game. They're one of those teams that seems like it's vibing right now, and just they're going to go on that late season tear, get into the playoffs, and then they're going to make magic happen. I don't know if they'll win this game against Montreal this week with Daggy at the helm. I don't have a ton of confidence in him, but the Argos do. And sometimes the team having enough confidence in the guy and the weapons around him, like you said, are enough to put him in it. I think, again, Toronto, can make big plays happen on defense, and that could come against McLeod Bethel Thompson this week as well. I'm going to take the under because I think it is a lower scoring game between these two teams, but I'm going to take Toronto to cover the +7 here. Adam's agreeing with us on the under, but he is taking Montreal. The coin is back from vacation apparently this week, though, and took Toronto, so is agreeing with us. Again, the coin only does money.
It's taking Toronto to win, too, right? So that's a big one. I don't know if they'll win, but I could see this being a snooze fest where it comes to a kicker, right? Kind of thing. So wouldn't be shocked if a missed field goal is kind of the difference here.
Game-winning missed field goal rouge. There we go.
Yeah.
Second game of the week has BC visiting Calgary. Again, the Stamps off the bye week. The Lions off that big win over Ottawa this past week. Calgary at 8-4, second in the West. BC 6-7, tied with Winnipeg for third in the West. So a BC win here actually puts them only 1 win back of Calgary. Earlier in the season, it seemed like Calgary was going to maybe run away with the West, maybe them and Saskatchewan. If they lose a couple games down the stretch after losing their last outing to Edmonton, it gets extra interesting out in the West Division here. So Calgary coming off that ugly loss to the Elks where Justin Rankin ran his 200-plus yards on them, but they had a week off to readjust from that. Your thoughts on this game? Calgary 5-point favorites at home, over under 54.5.
I think everything's pointing towards Calgary, right? They're coming off the bye. Week before that, an absolute shellacking by their provincial rival in the Labor Day rematch. I don't know the stats in front of me, but Calgary's got to be one of those teams that's ridiculous after the bye. You know what I mean? It just gives me those vibes that they have to be. BC, not completely sold on still. It's kind of weird to say that they're only a couple games behind, but if they're tied with Winnipeg and Winnipeg wins and Calgary loses, they're only a win behind too. So, it's not really that crazy if you think of it that way. So I am going to take Calgary -5. I think they could easily win this by a touchdown. 4-2. VA revenge game. 54.5. See, Calgary's defense has been pretty good. So that's where it makes me want to go the under, but I also wouldn't be shocked if this was like a 35, 28 game. We'll go over. Calgary in the over.
All right, you're going Calgary in the over. Adam's disagreeing on both. He went BC and the under. The coin is taking BC money line, so they're taking the Lions to win this one. Feel more comfortable with BC at home in this one. I think they play better at home. I'm going to go with Calgary as well because I do agree. I don't have the stats in front of me, but I feel like they are one of those teams that is really good off the bye. They've had time to get some pieces back and healthy. I know they have some question marks in that regard, and I think the loss of James Butler is going to have a serious impact on this Lions offense this week. I think he is the glue that holds it together, as good as Nathan Rourke has looked and as good as some of those receivers are worth. The line is higher than I would expect it to. Well, I can guess based on BC gives up a lot of points and stuff like that. I also don't expect Calgary to score a ton of points generally because I think the passing game has been very slowed down. Yes, Dedrick Mills might get a touchdown here or there, but I'm going to go with the under on this one as well and agree with Adam on the under for this matchup.
Let me just add a few things. Calgary 6-1 against the West Division. That's pretty tough. Well, BC's 2-4 against the West Division. Big things there. Calgary 5-2 at home. If we're talking about home field advantage, BC 3-4 on the road. So again, I have a real tough time thinking about BC winning this game, but I could see BC keeping it. Like I could see them like backdoor cover for sure. So very interesting game.
Yeah, I think also that loss for Calgary 2 weeks ago, that was the first loss where I don't have like a logical reason for, right? There were two where VA got injured. There was one in a monsoon game. This one, the only thing I can think of is either, well, they got it handed to them, and also it was a home-and-home series against what I think has slowly become one of the best defenses in the CFL. So I'm not surprised the Elks shut them down and played the way they did last time out against Calgary. So we'll see if the Stamps can bounce back. If they do win this game, that'll probably put them in a pretty good position for a West playoff spot, and a home playoff game also would keep them in contention with the Riders, who are on a bye this week. It would put them 2 points back of the Riders for first place in the West there as well. Let's go to Winnipeg and Ottawa. The line we've got currently is Ottawa -2.5. I don't know if this line is with Zach Collaros, Chris Streveler, Dustin Crum, Drew Brown. What combination of those? I don't know which one this line is and how the official depth charts will impact it. Over under at 52. I'll go first on this one because I want to go back to what I was talking about earlier, where the starter for Ottawa really matters for me on who this is. And I think the starter is going to be Drew Brown because he is the team starter. As good as Dustin Crum has been for fantasy over the last little while, and he wins some spot starts here and there, he doesn't have a great winning record. And this team needs wins to stay in the playoff race. So they're going to go back to their starter, Drew Brown, if he's healthy, which I think happens this week. And for that reason, I'm probably taking the Bombers. I don't think Drew Brown matches up well against Winnipeg's defense. I was taking a look at the CFL. Every week they put out the league-wide stats report of stats and rankings at a bunch of different positions. I was actually really surprised to see Winnipeg has one of the best pass defenses in the CFL, because earlier in the season we were talking about the likes of DeMonte Coxey eating them alive, and they've kind of honed that in over the last little while. So Crum clearly has their number and the ability to run all over them, but I think Drew Brown and the potential for injury for him again with that offensive line giving up sack after sack after sack, this feels like a game where the Winnipeg defense could be locked in. So I'm going to take them +2.5. I'm going to take Winnipeg on the money line even on this game as well. And I'm going to take do I want to go 3 straight unders? That's my problem. I think I will, because I think Ottawa's defense is actually pretty underrated at times also in their ability to shut down teams that aren't Nathan Rourke on a home and home. What do you think?
You're going to make it tough on me here. I was going to take Ottawa, but if you're taking Winnipeg and you're the non-homer. Oh, man, you really think so? But if it's Crum, you would think to take Ottawa because he's kind of had Winnipeg's number.
If it's Crum, I would take Ottawa in this game. Drew Brown coming off the injury and with the offensive line struggles and lack of mobility, that concerns me to the point I switched to Winnipeg.
Right, because I guess I was kind of thinking it was Crum leading up and then just seeing kind of some injuries lately because I'm like, Crum's going to do that same thing he did to the Bombers, a year or two every time they freaking played.
I mean, he might do it in the second half if Brown doesn't. And I just want to make clear because this might be coming across as me think like, oh, banking on Drew Brown getting injured. I hope he does not get injured, most obviously, right? Like I want the guy to succeed. But there's now been 3-4 games this year where he's left early due to injury. Same thing with Collaros on the other side. So you have to factor that in.
Damn
it. While you're thinking, Adam's taking Ottawa and the under as well, and the coin is taking Winnipeg. Adam is so strongly on the Ottawa side that he said you could have made it -10.
You know what? Give me the Bombers because this is going to be, like I said, maybe watch this be one of those games. They'll give it to Oliveira 30 times, and they're going to do something and give me hope and then lose 2 in a row after this. So give me Winnipeg, and I'll take the under.
All right, we're all going with the under on that.
I don't like either of those, but...
It's a tough one. It's a tough one for sure. Final game of the week, Edmonton visiting the Ticats, 5.5-point favorites. Hamilton, 56.5, the over-under on this game. Hamilton looking to kind of lock up the East Division over the next couple of weeks. They've got a 2-game lead on Montreal right now. Edmonton, 1 win back of both Winnipeg and BC for third place in the West. So they're very much in the race there. Imagine if Edmonton would have won last week. They lost by 1 point to the Argos. Argos kind of had that last-minute walk-off field goal. We'd be talking about Edmonton tied with Winnipeg and BC at 6-7 in the West, which is crazy to think after they started, 1-6 to start the year. But Cody Fajardo has had that impact on them. What are you thinking on this game?
I mean, call me crazy, but I'm going to take the Edmonton Elks in this one. It'll be closer than 5. I wouldn't even be completely shocked if Edmonton won. They seem to be looking a lot better, like you just said. Against the East Division this year, they are 4-3 compared to 1-5 against the West. Kind of a crappy road record at 2-5, but so is Hamilton. They're 5-1 against the East, which would make them 3-4 against the West. Hamilton hasn't played great against the West. And Hamilton's actually 3-3 at home. There's no home field advantage right now at the Donut Box or whatever it's called. So I could see Edmonton taking this one and then making things even stickier in both divisions. And I'll take the over. Watch this be a shootout. Fajardo or Levi shootout.
You're taking the over on this one. Adam is agreeing with you on Edmonton and the over as well. The coin is saying Hamilton. I'm going to agree on the Edmonton side, but I'm going to actually take the under on this game. I thought 56.5 on this one is really high, and there's a couple reasons I don't like it. One is, for the most part, Edmonton has actually really, over the last 5 weeks, shut teams down. I think I take the under on almost every Edmonton game because their defense has been, in my opinion, they're the third best defense in the CFL right now. It's hard to push out Calgary. It's hard to push out Saskatchewan when they're healthy. When they're not healthy at defensive back, we saw what MBT did to them last week. But Edmonton's been shutting everybody down for the most part. Toronto kind of had that second half comeback, but that first half, like Nick Arbuckle and the Argos got nothing going against them, and they seemed unstoppable in weeks leading up to that. On the other side, I think Hamilton has a good defense as well, and Edmonton kind of plays that, game manager, Cody Fajardo football for the most part. Yes, Rankin's explosive. Yes, Bell, Lawler, etc. are explosive, so I could see the points going up potentially. But I'll go back to what I was saying earlier about 20-plus carries for Greg Bell. Are we seeing a lot of usage for Justin Rankin? Maybe the clock just goes too fast in this game for them to even hit 56.5 points. So I'm going to go with the under. But I think Edmonton, because of their defense, because of the Justin Rankin rushing matchup, I'm going to take the Elks to at least cover 5.5, and would not be surprised to see them win this game against Hamilton as well. So I don't love it. I took under on all 4 games this week. When we've seen some very high scoring games lately, that makes me nervous. But I also feel pretty confident about a lot of the unders. So if I get 3 out of 4 of them right, I'll be happy this week. Those are our betting picks. Any other last minute topics you've got to talk about from the CFL this week? Or are we ready to start getting into wrapping it up?
No, I'm good, man. I'm liking these double headers on Friday and Saturday. I think that's for the schedule for the most part, other than the 3-game week and Thanksgiving weekend. So it's kind of nice. Gets the football done Saturday, leaves Sunday open for other football. I think we're pretty good, man. I don't know.
I'm loving that with this schedule to fit that Friday night doubleheader game in. You have to have a late night game in BC that starts at like 8:30 or 9 o'clock Winnipeg time. That's my favorite ideal start time for a football game, because everybody's, settled down for the evening and I can just enjoy myself a good game of football. So 9 p.m. start times. I love it. That's the one thing I like about this, as much as I advocate for the 4 straight days of football. But NFL is filling that void nicely lately as well.
That's been some crazy weeks. Do we want to go over fantasy real quick, or like other leagues, or what?
I don't. Sure, we can do that.
I don't know if we do that because Adam posted it in the chat, the podcast league. Some madness going in that one, a 4-way tie for first. You and I are involved in that, Ryan, along with Piffle's podcast, the Argos Fancast at 10-5. Top 8 make the playoffs in that one. Adam's sitting in 7th at 9-6. So the difference between 1st and 7th is 1 game. That's crazy.
I really fumbled the lead in that one. I was 9-0 to start the year, and now I'm 10-5. So I'm 1-6 in my last 5 games or whatever. And not at fault for my lineups for the most part, outside of 1 or 2 bad weeks. It's just everybody's putting up big weeks across this league and the Discord league, if you want to bring that one up as well.
Yeah, for sure. I thought Adam said that nobody's eliminated yet.
There's definitely some folks eliminated.
Yeah, definitely eliminated because there's only 2 weeks left in that. So yeah, and then in the Discord one, which is wild, you are first in that league, but you've been eliminated in the podcast league along with Adam, unfortunately. There's a few eliminations. I think officially I would have 4 eliminated. K-Sizzle, Ryan, Adam, and Larry. FM fans on the elimination block this week if he loses. A couple other guys could be on the elimination block. We have our first guy, Clinch. Josh M. He could clinch first place with a win this week or a loss from the second place guy. Me and Mike are standing pretty strong at 10-5. That one's pretty interesting. All 3 potential first-round matchups are on the schedule this week. Last time I checked, which is pretty weird how that works out. So check that out in the Discord. The Discord, you guys are freaks. I guess while I'm here, I'll do the NFL one just quick.
I'll just say on the Discord league, the only thing I care about left at this point, because I'm out of the running, is can I beat Adam in the standings? And 2 weeks left. We play each other this week, so loser gets relegated from the league. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. Something's got to happen out of this. But yeah, big matchup there for the People's Championship between Adam and I this week in that league. And good luck to Adam and myself, because I need it apparently lately.
For sure. NFL, this one's crazy too. I think 6 of us are 1-1 right now. I lost to our boy Richard by 2 points because they couldn't give the ball to Genty late. That pissed me off.
How's that first or second overall pick working out for you there?
Not terrible. I just think they got down too late and they stopped running, right? So I think it could have been okay. And
they also do not have an offensive line in Oakland.
Yeah.
No, not Oakland, Vegas.
Right. So that's fine. Mike got the win. He had the top score. No, second highest score, I believe. There's one guy at 2-0, which is no good in Overby, but he's going to have to get a new quarterback because Burrow is out. So we'll see how that goes. So, we got some fun fantasy going on, and
Yeah, this was my first time ever drafting a quarterback early in NFL fantasy. I took Joe Burrow as well, and of course, I was Joe Burrow for the year. So it's back to streaming, and picked up Indiana Jones off the waiver wire this week, and Jordan Love. I actually picked up both for now. So
You had Jordan Love available in your league?
I did, yeah.
He's probably the quarterback on the best team in the NFL right now. That's wild. But anyway.
Yeah, I've got Jordan Love, Josh Jacobs, and the Green Bay defense. So it's a heavy stack, but if they have a good game, that's going to lead to some points. But Danny Dimes, I'm on the Danny Dimes train in Indianapolis right now. Only team in the Super Bowl era to not punt in the first two games.
Pretty much. I might need a new quarterback in our league because Daniels is questionable this weekend. So little not too sure what to do.
And then finally looking at the our CFC draft league for CFL fantasy, we're getting down to, well, that one goes to week 20. So we've got 5 or so weeks left. I made up about 20 points on you this week. I put up 134, highest score of the week. Crum over 30, Greg Bell over 30. I left Tyson Philpott on the bench. If I would have played him instead of Dembski, would have put up, I think 170, 175, highest score of all time. I would be in the league, but 134 for me. Adam was right behind with 130.3. Nathan Rourke, huge week for him there. You had 112, so it's still a pretty solid week. And Mike had a rough week at 73.9. In terms of the overall standings on the season right now, you are in first place at 1504.5. I'm 20 points behind you, so I'm catching up here down the stretch. And it's going to come down to crunch time here. And part of me thinks you might have wished you didn't blow $50 of waiver money on James Morgan with how I'm going to be using this money down the stretch.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. And 2 of my 3 quarterbacks, I don't know what they're doing, so it's fine.
Mike is in third place. He's about 100, just over 100 points behind me for second. And Adam made up some ground on him for third place this week. He's about 40 back. So everybody's, there's potential for movement across this week with really good weeks, really bad weeks. But those are our fantasy leagues. Let's get into our closing wrap-up stuff here. Next week, we're back. Week 17 previews, CFL fantasy picks, CFL betting picks once again. In the meantime, you can check out the Discord. The link is in the episode description. Free to join us over there to come chat along with us in between episodes. We're chatting in there every day quite frequently. And you can follow us on social media as well at CF Countdown Pod on X or Facebook.com/CF Countdown Pod as well. Check out all the other great shows from around the Canadian Football Podcast Network at CF Pod Network on Twitter, Alternative Football Network at the official AFN on Twitter, or alternativefootballnetwork.com. I want to plug on the also Blue Sky at CF Countdown Pod. I also want to plug on the X, something I did last week that I think I might, if I have time tomorrow, do it again this week. So I started putting up polls for CFL fantasy options of here's all the guys in this price range. Who do you think is going to have the highest score, to kind of get some consensus picks out there from the crowdsourcing the people that follow us. So make sure you check that out at CF Countdown Pod on X to get your say in those polls when we put them out. Trey, where can people find everything you're doing these days?
You can find me at the Twitter at TreyMBHarness. A few weeks left of the racing season here in Manitoba, so I'll tweet a lot about that. Blue Jays, real close making the playoffs. I'll probably tweet a lot about that. And yeah, talk to me. I talk a lot in the Discord, so see me there.
Sounds good. You can find me on X at CooperTrooper42. You can find Adam at AdamStewart1, at Mike Garrell. And whatever podcast platform you're listening on, leave us a review. Leave us a 5-star rating. That would be wonderful. It helps grow the show. If you haven't subscribed already and you liked what you saw today, give us a subscription. Give the video a like if you're watching on YouTube. Leave us your comments as well. Those always make us happy to see. And do all these great things to help us grow the show. We really appreciate it when folks do that. On behalf of Trey, I'm Ryan saying thank you for listening. Take care. Have a good one. Bye.